Kelly from Cards by Christine here with you on a Technique Thursday to share with you the infill technique. So I created this beautiful succulent card using this technique, and I can't wait to show it off to you because I was so impressed by how easy it was, especially with a stamp set like the succulent set where there's so much coloring. So it's called Simply Succulents. And it's this beautiful outline of these succulent plants, but if you are looking to color it like with blends per se, that's a lot of coloring, and it can be intimidating, especially if you're not hugely into coloring. This was one of the sets that I was the most excited to get when I saw it in the catalog. And honestly, I've only used it once or twice because it is overwhelming. So this technique is a real easy way to get a beautiful color on your succulents without having to think much and without having to take much time to do it. So I'm going to set up my station and kind of get all the pieces where I need them so that you can see the card. But we can work. So I'm going to start with the clay pot, and I'm using cinnamon cider to really give you that terracotta pot look. And in experimenting with this, I decided the best, like the look I was going for was best achieved through second strength, because the first strength is quite a dark color. So I'm kind of just taking this stamp, and I'll tell you where it was from in just a second, and using it back and forth to just fill in, because obviously in this stamp set there is not a filling in color, or I should say stamp, to get that filled in look. So I'm just kind of taking this stamp and filling it in. And I left that over here, so just give me a sec. So what this whole technique is about is using these stamps from a different set to fill in the stamps from, like in this case, the succulent. So, you know, you don't have a distinctive stamp that necessarily fills in the terracotta pot, but that doesn't mean you can't use other stamps to fill that in. So I just used this stamp from this, I think it's called a conch shell, to fill it in, and it, you know, gives that beautiful like watercolory wash look to it. And it's all random, so there's really no rhyme or reason to how you're doing it, and it just turns out to be really beautiful in the end, and that's really all we're going for. So then I am going to clean my stamp off, and let's see here. To fill in the succulents. Now, I am not a plant mom by any means, but I do know that succulents can come in a wide variety of different colors. Some are purpley and pinks, and obviously the most common color is green. So I kind of was going with more of a monochromatic look and just choosing a wide variety of different greens to fill in my succulents. So I started with Soft Seafoam. The next color up was Pear Pizzazz, Mint Macaron, and Soft Succulent. So that's in order, left to right. The card base I chose was Soft Succulent as well. And this is just my preference for what hues I'm using, but I used Soft Seafoam at first strength, Pear Pizzazz at second strength, Mint Macaron at first strength, and Soft Succulent at second strength. So it really turned out, honestly, that the first strength Soft Seafoam and the second strength Pear Pizzazz were quite similar of a color tone, but I just wanted a little bit of variation. So that is what I chose to go with through some experimenting in making the sample cards. So I just took these three stamps. Oh, see here, I lied. This was actually, I didn't use the biggest one. So these 3 stamps from the Friends Like Seashells and randomly kind of dipped them into my inks to get the coloration. So here I'm going to do soft seafoam at first strength, and then I'm trying to be a little strategic about how I'm placing the colors. The darkest color over here is that mint macaron at first strength. So I was very strategic about where I put those because they kind of really stand out. And I tried, not always, but for the most part, to use a smaller area in that. And then I'm going to have my chamois ready to clean as I go from color to color. And now I'm going to take Pear Pizzazz at second strength, fill that in, and then let's see here, we'll do Mint Macaron, kind of just trying to balance the dark, heavier colors as we go. And when you do this, you probably want to do a test run before you go all gung-ho into your maybe final project, because like for me, everyone's ink pads are going to be different levels of juiciness. So I think if you have recently re-inked a stamp pad, you'll get a darker color of the same, you know, like your soft seafoam, if it's been used more, may not be quite as vibrant as this one. So let's see here. I want to bring Pear Pizzazz in next at second strength. Okay, then Soft Succulent. So this stamp that I just stamped in Soft Succulent, for anyone that's local to Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, to me it looks just like Lake Winnebago, which is a local destination here in Fond du Lac. And actually Fond du Lac is French or some different language for foot of the lake, and Lake Winnebago is the lake that they're talking about. So it's a beautiful lake that is very much a local destination here. So every time I use this stamp, that's what I think of. Okay, so let's just finish filling this guy in. Okay, so now I want a little bit more of Pear Pizzazz at second strength. We'll do Soft Succulent at second strength. Put in Mint Macaron at first. And then at the bottom, oh, let's see here. Maybe two of this guy. This one. And then, okay, so the last thing that I did was once I had it all filled in, I took my darkest color, which is Mint Macaron at first strength, and just kind of put a couple little fillers to really balance out that darkness, or that darker hue. And oh, let's see here. So random is something I sometimes struggle with, so I never know when it's good enough or needs a little more, or if I've gone too far, but I'm gonna call that good. And then close up my ink pads before we make a mess, because that happens from time to time. And speaking of mess, I just got my fingernail in the ink. I really need to cut my fingernails, especially with these embellishments and ribbons. I was like, oh boy. Sometimes long fingernails come in handy and other times they definitely hold you back. Okay, so how I finished this off, that was the technique, and then what I did was, we've got these pieces. The card base is soft succulent, and then the stitched rectangle, the largest stitched rectangle in basic white, makes that beautiful mat with the stitching around it. And then I used some baker's twine in very vanilla to add a cute little bow around the terracotta pot. And then even though this is like a great focal image that really fills in the spot, for this being the entire focus of the card, I took another half piece, and that's why I have this cut in half, because I used the other half on my sample card and kind of tucked that beneath. So what I actually did was I glued down flat the terracotta pot and the half bouquet of succulents, and then I used dimensionals behind the full focal piece. And then behind my sentiment, you make the ordinary extraordinary, which is from Simply Succulents. I used the stitched, kind of like a stitched label, which was also from the potted succulent dies, to put the sentiment on. I put dimensionals behind this half and then glued it flat on the already dimensionalized succulents, and just put a little bit of soft seafoam ribbon behind and some of the in color rhinestones in soft seafoam, or excuse me, soft succulent as well. So this is a beautiful card that, you know, if you are good with that random coloring with these types of infill stamps, you could just sit and do these easily, and they're really not that difficult to make, and they make for a really, really beautiful card. I just absolutely love this. So what do you think? Have you ever thought of kind of cross-contaminating your stamps, using infill stamps from a different stamp set to fill in the stamp set that you're using that maybe doesn't have those? So I think it was brilliant, and I was excited to show you guys this one. It's one of the card designs and techniques that I've been most excited about in a while. So I hope you enjoyed it too, and I hope you use this technique. And if you do, please share your cards or creations with us in the comments. We would love to see it. So I hope you have a great day. Again, catch Chris tonight for her Stampin' Live in the Hive. And I hope you have a great day, and see you later.